If you have ever felt like your brain just doesn't work the way that business tells you that it should, like the consistency feels impossible and guilt is your default when you rest, then this conversation is for you. This episode is your permission slip and your reclamation because you're not lazy, you're not broken, you're not behind, you are just wired differently. And when you honor that, everything changes. In this conversation today, I'm going to introduce you to a very special guest. Her name is Alannah Aiken, and she is an ADHD coach. She is also a mother to a beautiful 10-year-old boy, and she is my friend. And we are not here to have a conversation today about productivity hacks. We are here to have a conversation about reclaiming your energy, managing ADHD through your cycle, and regaining your sense of self before your business. We are unlearning guilt, we are rewriting success, and we are showing you what becomes possible when your business starts honoring your brain instead of fighting it. This is a conversation for women who are diagnosed with ADHD, who think that they might need to be diagnosed or might like to start exploring diagnosis of ADHD. This conversation is for you. And let me tell you, again, it is not your typical productivity hacks around ADHD conversation. This is so empowering, and I cannot wait for you to dive in and meet Alannah. Okay. Alannah, welcome to Resourced. It is so nice to have you here, my friend. How are you
Thank you
today?
so much. I'm great. It's so good to finally be here and chat with you.
I know we've been meaning to have this conversation for a while now, and Alannah has just graced us in my mastermind with her presence. It has been amazing to have you in there chatting with the ladies who are either diagnosed ADHD or who feel like they might want to go down that process, and really supporting them from that lens of how can I, first of all, deal with this personally, but also how can I run my business more effectively and efficiently, knowing that this is what I'm experiencing. So it has just been amazing, and I'm so excited to have you here. I have already formally introduced you, but I'm just wondering, could you share a little bit with everybody listening your story, your version of who you are, and how you got here as an ADHD coach? We would love to hear a little bit more of your personal journey with ADHD.
Yes, so thank you again for having me. My background before I became an ADHD coach, I was a primary school teacher and I was your textbook burnt out, so anxious, so overwhelmed, could not keep up with the demands of life. And I ended up leaving my classroom at the end of 2021 and went into more supporting people with their mindset, with their well-being. I did my yoga teacher training, and it was through that I realized something's still not right. And I had someone actually ask me that you've got ADHD, don't you? A teacher, I helped parents with their kids with ADHD, but I never thought I could have it. So I naturally went down the rabbit hole, and sure enough, 4 weeks later, I was diagnosed with ADHD.
So you'd never contemplated for yourself? Yeah.
Never. In my mind, and in a lot of people's minds, ADHD is that textbook hyperactive boy who can't sit still. And it didn't change the diagnostic criteria until we were in our adult years or even after school years. So it never even crossed my mind that I could have had it. And
Mm.
when I started reading about it and watching about it, it was so obvious that I had it. And even when I got my diagnosis, he said, it's so obvious. I don't know how you've missed this. So it was really interesting. And because I was already helping people with their well-being, with their practices and their rituals to support them across on the whole, I naturally started to share more about my journey after ADHD
Mm.
and naturally had more conversations with women. And then I ended up studying to be an ADHD coach. And that's where I am now. So I really like to help people more on the holistic lens. So people think once they're diagnosed with ADHD, I'll take this pill and everything will be okay. I'll learn all the strategies, but it's not like that. It's understanding who you are, your energy, your capacity, and learning to support yourself in all different areas of your life. So then we can show up in our business, so we can show up for our families, and we can find.
And I love that you share it from that capacity. And we might chat a little bit soon about that holistic lens that you do take, because I know, like, even when you just came in and you shared all of that with my ladies in the mastermind, it all just made so much sense. And it's not the typical kind of advice from what I understand and conversations that I've had, even just in my own personal world around ADHD and what my brain is doing and all of that. So
Mm,
I don't have a formal diagnosis, but I do meet all of the diagnostic criteria at 99.8%. What I do with that information, I'm unsure yet. I'm very early in that processing, but I feel like so many women, particularly, are feeling like, so I know I've heard, actually, let me reframe that. I've heard some mixed reactions. Some people go, oh, it's that exhale. It's that, okay, I understand. There's something is not wrong with me, and this is how I am, and I'm not failing. And it's that kind of deeper understanding of there's a reason that I've struggled in the way that I've struggled. But then there's also this messaging that I really feel is actually more at like a societal level, which is that it's not a strength, that it's actually a
mm,
flaw. And so I really love that you're speaking about it from this holistic perspective, because I'm going to assume that you agree with me. Yeah, that
mm.
this beautiful, this neurodivergency, this amazing brain that you have, potentially it's actually a huge strength that you haven't unlocked yet. And learning how to do so is going to accelerate you in your life and your business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's everything that you talk about. It's our beliefs and who we are underneath it all and our mindset. So if we believe that our life is hard because we've got ADHD, if we believe that we're always going to find things challenging, we're never going to get past that. We're always going to be met with that resistance. But if we can start to look at it more and this is what I like to help people see, is that you've been handed the keys now to your brain. You realize why things have felt difficult in the past and all these years up to now. You
Yeah.
can choose your own adventure. You can choose to stay stuck and like a victim to those circumstances, or you can start to feel a bit more empowered and start to move forward and find what works for you and start to, I think of it like a challenge. Start to look at your life like, not a lot of people, unless you've been diagnosed as an adult, but not a lot of people get that breakthrough and
Mm.
realize why things were hard. Now I'm going to run with this and just start to evolve and be the best version of myself and start to find what works for me and start to put habits and practices and boundaries and things in place that really allow me to step into this next level evolution of myself. And I think that is such an empowering gift that people can give themselves.
Yeah, I completely agree, because I feel, and in a moment, seeing as if I don't have ADHD, listen to me. I'm going to lens back in just a second and step back even further and talk about some of the things that show up for maybe women in particular that aren't fitting into that stereotypical box that we've all thought of ADHD as previously. But just before I do, I really just want to enhance what you're saying there even more, particularly as high achieving women who find this huge frustration in the fact that they can't seem to function in the way that we are told high achieving women should. And maybe that's in their success habits or in their ability to be productive or to finish tasks or whatever it is that they are
Mm.
shaming themselves around. But your approach is now actually being able to learn to, as you said, lost your words, but be able to create a magnificency, really.
Yeah.
It's the key, you've been given the keys to your brain. And we can just take some of that shame away completely for the fact that
Yeah.
you weren't coping or you weren't performing in the way that you've been told that you should.
Yeah. And you now understand why, and you can start to develop that self-compassion for that past version of you who did the best that they could with the tools that they had.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it is a huge journey of unraveling that shame. And there's so much, even from me personally, there's so much from childhood with the undiagnosed ADHD that comes up now with that perfectionism, with that pushing and productivity. And there's a lot to unravel to
Mm.
allow us to move forward. But it's again, it's looking at it through a more empowering lens rather than life is so hard and it's going to continue to be this way. So
Yeah.
you get to choose how you want to show up and view things. We all can control, we all have that choice with our perspective.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So if we were to just like to take that step back just that little bit for a moment, anybody listening today who has been wondering or they're looking and they're seeing all of these people around them being late diagnosed, when we've had that, this is what stereotypical ADHD looks. Can you tell me a little bit about what undiagnosed women in their 30s and 40s, even 50s, how are you seeing it? And I understand that it is going to present very differently across a multitude of people, but how in your clients and even within yourself, how are you seeing it presenting in these
Mm.
undiagnosed women versus that stereotypical hyperactivity?
Some big things that I notice, and through the conversations that I have, masking, so hiding our ADHD plays a big part. So it's things like chronic overwhelm, anxiety, which it can be hyperactivity, but that's more internalized. So textbook ADHD is that external hyperactive can't sit still, but when we learn to mask from such a young age, it becomes hyperactivity of the mind. Constantly losing things, just like a hot mess, rushing around, can't seem to just take action, and you've got all these ideas, you want to do things but you just can't follow through, you don't know where to start, really feeling like this guilt and shame. And something I hear a lot, which breaks my heart, is that I just want to do the things that I say I want to do. I just want to feel proud of myself. And something that I say is, where are you already feeling proud in your day to day? We've got to start noticing that, because we can have such a negativity bias where it fuels that hyperactivity of the mind, and it just compounds of everything is like nothing's working out. Everything's
Yeah,
just, I'm failing at everything. So yeah, it's just some of these things that we can see, and putting everyone else first and not understanding who we are and how to support our needs, because we've hidden who we are from such a young age. We learned that we need to sit down, be quiet, be a good girl, and I
mhm,
won't get in trouble. I
mm.
won't, yeah, there's so many layers to it.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like along with all of that is really then allowing yourself, I'm assuming as a part of this acceptance and moving forward process is also allowing yourself to really dive deep into that healing journey as well, that is
Mm,
going to continue to come up from everything that you have learned and experienced in the past as well.
absolutely. And I'm even still now, everything that I do focuses around helping women to build more self-awareness so that they know that something doesn't feel right within my body. I need to lean on my tools or lean on people like you, or energy healing, kinesiology,
Yeah,
anything that helps you to break through a block that's been sitting there from childhood,
yeah,
something that's been holding us back. And we just have this feeling of, I'm at a new level, but something doesn't feel right.
yeah.
So get curious with that and lean on your support and tools to move through that. Otherwise, we'll just continue to be held back from our beliefs and what we think we're capable of from our childhood with undiagnosed ADHD.
Mhm. Yeah. You mentioned earlier about finding ways to support yourself, and as we've already touched on, but not gone into yet, you have a very holistic approach to the way that you support ADHD. Can we have a little bit of a chat about supporting our energy, first of all? And then I think also, just because I know the ladies are like, but how do I run my business like this? Structuring a business too that is around that energy and around, I guess, around your energy rather than not around a to-do list that, let's face it,
Mm.
none of us are actually doing.
Yeah.
So, how do you help to support women in ADHD, with ADHD, sorry, in their energy?
Yeah. So it's the day to day, it's the micro. So, first of all, looking at everything from your sleep, what are you eating? Are you drinking water? Movement is a big one. So, something I really encourage is exercising or moving your body in the morning is going to support more focus. Understanding your energy just across the month in general as cyclical women. So, knowing how to track your cycle, knowing how your ADHD, your mood, your emotions is different throughout the different phases of our cycle. So this is all the bigger picture. We need to start looking at ADHD as a puzzle, and these are all the little micro puzzle pieces that can play such a big part in just our energy across the whole.
Oh, I love that. What shifts when we stop expecting our executive functioning to always be available? When we stop living with that expectation, what shifts do we start to see in the way that we are feeling, living, running our business?
Yeah, so with our executive functions, these are everything from our organization, our memory, our planning, prioritization. It comes back to our cycle and
Mhm.
knowing that when we're in different stages of our cycle, our executive functions are going to be different.
Yeah.
So if we want to start having shifts with our executive functions, we need to start knowing, when am I at my best? When can I start to plan my life, my business, my social life around when my executive functions are, say, up here? Whereas when are they starting to drop? When is those ADHD symptoms really starting to increase? And how can I pull things back a bit? How can I start to say no a little bit more? And
Mm.
just get a bit more, manage our energy and capacity that way across the whole. It's such a vital thing that we can be doing, rather than putting so much strain on ourselves to just perform and to push and to just go like we're 9 to 5 factory workers.
Yeah, which we can't do. You you have a 10-month-old
Yes.
and you're navigating ADHD, and so you're also navigating all of these hormonal changes and things that come with postpartum and everything as well. So how do you, if you don't mind me asking, how do you personally and compassionately, because I know that you're going to probably talk about that too, how do you personally and compassionately run your business, knowing that there are going to be times where focus is not there, where you're in a stage of your cycle where that executive functioning is not as on or our dopamine is low? How do you actually run a business, have a
Yeah.
baby? Like,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just saying, how do you function? But in terms of a business, how do you run that from that lens?
Yeah. It's such a great question. It definitely all comes back to our habits, what we're consuming, what we're putting into our body. But I personally know that after my period comes, because my period has come back now, since
Mhm.
I'm still breastfeeding, but since it's come back, it is just a whole new level of learning to manage my ADHD. So I know that in, say, the first 2 weeks of my cycle, that is when I am on, that is when I'm feeling most creative. That is when I'm going to be able to start actioning things. So
Yes.
I look at my business to do the heavy lifting that way. I know that the week before my period, that is when the self doubt can creep in. That is when I can start to, I look at my to do list and I just can't do anything. Like things start to drop off. And it takes a lot of compassion to be able to not let your inner critic run the show during that time, and to know that, and to also trust that I know myself well enough now to know that I am going to be doing the heavy lifting during this period of my month and my cycle. I trust that when I'm in this low point, I can do things like repurpose old content. I can lean on automatic replies, things like that, outsourcing more, and just
Mm.
trust that I am cyclical. It is what goes around comes around, and it will come back to that point of high energy, high focus. So I need to plan out my life and my business to really maximize that time and
Mm.
set myself up for.
Oh, I love that. And that is just such an important conversation around systems in our business.
Mm,
It's something that we've talked a lot about in my mastermind recently is around creating these systems. And systems can feel very structured and very masculine and very, but ultimately they are the ultimate piece in your business to be able to let you be in flow, to let you
mm,
be in that feminine energy, to let you roll with your cycle. And I love that what I'm really hearing here is that to allow yourself to run your business as a cyclical woman in the way that your body needs is actually completely doable. It's like
mm.
we don't actually have to be on every minute if we can put structures and supports in place that allow our business to keep ticking over. I did an
Yeah.
episode on this in some capacity, not so much from the monthly like cyclical lens, but more from the my nervous system wasn't coping, but here's how my business continued to support
Mm,
me kind of lens. But it's the exact same thing essentially. You're putting systems, processes, things into place so that when your energy is low, your business doesn't fall apart.
yeah.
Yeah, I love
And
that's what I'm hearing.
it's a learning curve to figure out what you need in this season that you're in, and also being radically honest with yourself. And this is something that I've had to learn. What season is your business in as well? Are you in a season of growing and creating and putting new things out, or are you in a season of just trying to be consistent with what you've got and building up what you've got? And that's something I've really had to learn since returning to work with a baby is like, where am I at right now? And am I really honoring this season, or am I trying to push and expect myself to be doing something else, or expect myself to be
Mhm.
matching pre-baby me? So really getting honest with where you're in this season as well can be really helpful to running our business.
Oh, I love that. For the women who really struggle with that, who are like, yes, I hear what you're saying. They're driven by the core beliefs and the paradigms that we have to work harder and maybe we've been rewarded with success or whatever stories we're running from. Can you just really, I think, love punch, like a really honesty? What happens if we do not tend to ourselves first, particularly from an ADHD lens? What's going to happen if we're not tending to ourselves first before our business?
Obviously, burn. I had this conversation yesterday, and someone was saying that I just feel like they're giving so much to their people, that their clients and things. And I just had to stop her right there and just remind her that you are so worthy just by waking up. You don't need to prove yourself. You don't need to overgive and over deliver and give so much of yourself to the point that you're burning out and you're not looking after yourself. So it's that real identity shift as women that we don't have to just push all the time. We can put ourselves first. And I also think we need to give ourselves a lot of grace, because I don't know about you, but we didn't grow up watching this unfold. We grew up watching our mums and our grandmas sacrifice themselves
Yeah.
across the whole, even through marketing campaigns. Like, women and a good mum and a good woman puts everyone else first. So
Mm.
we're undoing so much as a generation and this era. And I think we need to give ourselves so much grace, because, of course, we're going to waver between trying to prove ourselves and overgive to then coming back and thinking, no, I need to put myself first right now.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you just spoke about that because I was going to ask you about identity and enoughness and how you do support your clients to see their worth beyond what is happening. And I feel like that's just such a big, important piece. Like you're saying, we're not only stepping into new identities, but we're also breaking
Mm,
generational traumas, generational patterns. And that's
yeah,
huge.
yeah, it is. And I think it takes a team. It takes having different people in your corner that you can lean on, or book sessions with, or just pour back into yourself when you start to feel those old beliefs and things coming up that don't allow you to step into that next level version and identity. Because, as you know, we can consciously think something, but our bodies and our nervous systems need to catch up.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about how rejection, sensitivity,
Dysphoria.
dysphoria, I was going to say dysphoric disorder, I was close. Rejection, sensitivity, dysphoria, how does that show up in business?
So rejection
And what is
sensitivity, just
it?
yes, it's a fear of either real or perceived rejection, criticism, or, from what I see, it can be one of the biggest things holding people with ADHD back without even realizing it. And it doesn't matter if it's real judgment, it could be in our heads, even just thinking, putting up a post or putting up a story or doing a workshop, and just having that fear of even perceived criticism and judgment and rejection. So it can be really crippling in our business and even in our life in general. It can be those thoughts where you leave a catch up and your mind starts spiraling, like, why did I say that? Oh my God, everyone's real life.
Yeah, I was going to
So
ask if it's even has to be at that level of visibility because I can see how it could very clearly play out in that putting yourself out there and launching and visibility and sales conversations and pitching to
Mm,
podcasts and all those types of things.
everything.
Even just coming back into those more intimate spaces, leaving a conversation with a friend, with a mentor, with a client, and having
Yeah.
those things coming through. I know I've heard you speak about this before, and I see it, I can spot it a lot in people
Mm,
who either think they might have ADHD or have been diagnosed. And I just felt like it's something that even just understanding that this is a part of it, sometimes we can get really caught up that literally blocks people from moving forward.
yeah.
Fear blocks people from launching a business, having a conversation, seeing a client, like from actually doing what they want to be doing. How do you even
Yeah.
begin to navigate it from from their lens of ADHD?
Yeah, I always encourage people to learn about it
Mm.
because once we learn about it, we can recognize when it's coming up. So I'm the same, when I have conversations with clients, I instantly can tell this is not you, this is the rejection sensitivity dysphoria coming up. So once we understand what's happening, we can name it and say that this is actually the RSD coming up. Then we can start to tame it through challenging it and thinking, is there actually any evidence to this right now? Or is my mind just taking me on a tangent? What story am I attaching to this interaction, this conversation, this connection call, anything like that? So, recognizing when it's coming up and learning to challenge it through facing it head on and seeing if there is any evidence and moving through it that way. But of course, we also need to really focus on regulating our nervous system because when these things do come up, it's hard to logically move through challenging our thoughts and naming
Especially
things
if it's
and
been automatic for so long for you as well. It's so ingrained in
exactly.
your nervous system's patterns of behavior. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always say, go outside, go and get in nature, ground, do whatever you need to do to get you back in your body and out of that head. So then your more healthy side can start to reason with this rejection sensitivity that's coming up and start to challenge it and move through it that way.
Yeah. ADHD and guilt seem to go hand in hand, especially when it comes to doing things differently. How do you support your clients in actually just unraveling from that guilt and that?
Yeah, I think we set the bar too high. We set these totally unrealistic standards and these high expectations. So then when we don't meet that, we can feel the guilt. And then the stories come in, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not capable. And I think it comes back to just being really honest with our capacity and our energy and what we do have the capacity for in that moment or in that day and meeting ourselves where we're at. Something I like to lean on is done is better than perfect. And some days our 20% is going to be our 100%, and that's okay. So tomorrow's always a new day. Just focus on one thing today. What's that first step that's
Yeah.
not going to spiral you into this guilt and shame of, I'm not doing enough?
Yeah. Can you bring to mind a time, maybe, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe not because I'm putting you on the spot here, but where you let yourself actually rest and be in this cycle of, okay, my energy is low. And today, rather than this to-do list, I am actually going to rest because this is where I'm at cyclically, this is where I'm at emotionally, this is where my executive functioning is at. And that rest actually changed everything.
Oh, just it's like a warm hug, when you actually stop
If you're
and
not watching us on YouTube, Alannah's whole body just like it
I
absolutely
know
melts.
that feeling. And I've been there where I've tried to push past and push my executive functions and I can't focus and I'm just staring at a screen. But when you actually stop and give yourself permission to pause and go on that couch and get those snacks and just get a blanket, get really cozy and just give yourself what you need, you will feel so much better the next day versus if you keep pushing and then it just takes so much longer to recover. Whereas if you actually just stop and give yourself that hour or that afternoon or the weekend, whatever it is, notice how much better you feel after for actually honoring how you're feeling. Like it's such a nice feeling giving yourself that.
Yeah. What would you say to the woman who actually knows she has this awareness that she is burnt out, that she is
Mm.
telling herself that she can't slow down?
What would I tell
Yeah,
her?
what would you tell her?
I would say go and listen to my podcast because I just did a couple of episodes about this.
Oh, good. That's good timing.
And it was all about rest. If you're feeling so burnt out, you need to think about the different types of rest that you're not considering in your life, because going to bed at night and having your 8 hours sleep or whatever it is, that's not going to cut it. That's not going to get you out of that burnt out feeling. Thinking about your sensory rest, thinking about
Yeah.
physical rest, social rest, taking some time off work and just pouring back into yourself, because the longer we avoid it and we push past it, like I said before, the longer it's going to take to get you. Whereas if you lean on support and check in with yourself and what you really need to help yourself right now, and start to
Mm.
give yourself that without making it mean anything and without attaching a story to what that rest is, you'll start to recover and you'll start to move through that and you're on this constant loop of feeling burnt out all the time.
It's such a beautiful and important message. What do you wish? These questions are just, I'm just like asking, throwing so many questions at you
I
today.
love it.
But you're a responder. Alannah's a generator, so she's
Yes.
responding to these questions. But I'm just really curious, what do you wish that women in business with ADHD, if there was just like one major thing that you wish that they knew, what is that?
I think about this for myself, and it's something I keep coming back to. And it's, what would this look like if it was easy?
Mm.
And that can translate into life as well. And it's the same as business. We think that things need to look a certain way or be a certain way. And keep coming back to, what would this look like if
Yeah. Do you think that it's necessary for people to get a diagnosis if they think that they have ADHD? Or is it something that, say, an ADHD coach like yourself or someone could support them with even without that formal diagnosis? And is there benefit to doing that even without a formal diagnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially with the wait list being so long, I often help people when they're waiting for their diagnosis or they're trying to get the wheels in motion. And
Mm.
ADHD coaching is really about helping you move forward and figure out what works for you and put different supports and structures in place to help you as the person.
Yeah.
A diagnosis is great because it's validating and it's going to help you feel seen, and it will help you to access that medication if that's something that you do want to go down, but it's not something that should stop you from learning to figure it out. So I
Mm.
remember when I got my diagnosis, and just across the board, it's almost like this: you're diagnosed and dumped. Go and figure it out off your pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need to be proactive and find people and places that will help us to move forward, whether that's coaching or therapy. And it can work really great alongside getting the diagnosis if that feels aligned to you.
Yeah. And obviously, you don't just support entrepreneurs, you support all women, children,
Yeah.
yeah, with learning more about their ADHD and being able to, as you said, move forward. And I love that. It's just really about how do I move forward. I would really recommend that you go and chat to Alannah if you feel like this is something that you want to explore more. As we literally just said, you don't have to have that diagnosis. But if you are feeling in that space right now, where that frustration, that guilt, that shame, that something is fundamentally wrong with me because I should be able to be doing these things, and your nervous system is so dysregulated and you're really in that space, don't keep living like that. Don't.
Exactly.
You have a choice. Please know you have a choice. And if you think that ADHD might be contributing to that, then Alannah would be the perfect person to go and have a conversation with. Tell us a little bit about how people can work with you, where we can find you.
Yeah, so I'm over on Instagram and TikTok, adhd.with.alana.
Mhm.
And at the moment, I offer one-on-one coaching to help late diagnosed people moving forward. But whether or not you're diagnosed or not, it doesn't matter. It's like building up the systems, the habits, and the compassion to move forward. And
Yeah.
I also support families with their children inside of the school system. The school system is not built for neurodiverse kids. I know that for a fact, being an ex primary school teacher. So I help families to really feel more confident advocating for their kids and having a plan in place to help their children with ADHD focus and have that motivation and better executive functions inside of the classroom. So I offer consultation for that as well.
Oh, I love that. And you've got a podcast.
And I've got a podcast, the ADHD Deep Dive podcast.
Oh, amazing. We will link all of the ways to find you as well in the show notes, make it super, super easy. And just honestly, thank you so much for having this conversation. I feel like it's something that I know there are a lot of conversations happening around ADHD at the moment. I don't hear many of them talking so much from that cyclical lens. I really
Mm.
don't. And I love, obviously, you can work with Alannah, you can go deeper into that level of support. We had a really great conversation about that in my mastermind the other week when Alannah came and facilitated some training for us. I don't hear that much of it coming from that lens. And I just absolutely love everything that you are teaching and everything that you are all about. So thank you so much for sharing everything with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so good to have this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop recording.
Okay.
This conversation today was a reminder that healing isn't always about fixing what's broken. Sometimes it's actually about finally seeing that you were never even broken to begin with. You just needed a business that fits your body, fits your brain, and fits your truth. The world tells women like us to regulate after we succeed. But what if that success isn't actually sustainable until you regulate first? What if your healing isn't a detour, but it's actually the whole path that you were meant to be on? I would love to hear how you found today's episode. Let me know what resonated. Pop over and say hello to Alannah on Instagram as well. And I will see you next week on Resource with Jessica Reed.